What is gravy, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I will be honest, this one took me slightly longer than I anticipated, so I apologise. I guess smashing out Horizon that quickly burned me out more than I thought. Nevertheless, the time has arrived to talk about my platinum experience in Ghostwire Tokyo. And I promise this video will get made, unlike the last Ghostwire video. Which, if you've seen this, you already know. So this is pointless. Anyway, if you go on to enjoy this video, then please do hit that like button. It does help me out a ton. And if you're new, consider subscribing. Now then, let's get to it. My initial thoughts after the first couple of hours with the game were overwhelmingly positive, I must admit. While there was clearly a long way to go on my journey, I was immediately dropped into a fascinating world in the wake of what appeared to be some sort of apocalyptic event. The streets were empty, as people had simply disappeared into the ether, and a mysteriously dense fog had enveloped the city. And this is essentially all the setup you need before you are thrust into the shoes of Akito and KK, a somewhat dynamic duo comprised of a young man looking for his missing sister and a ghost hunting wraith spirit type dude who is seemingly trying to fix whatever is happening to Tokyo. Now, of course, while I'm not going to go into any story beats because that is not what these videos are about, I do have to mention that in pursuit of my platinum trophy, the story did seem to fall by the wayside. Whether that's because I insisted on clearing up the map as I went through the game, or if that's just the way it falls into place, is beyond me. But at times it really does feel like they shot themselves in the foot by making this game an open world. However, what did stick with me throughout the entire game is the gameplay. While it is not particularly groundbreaking or complex, it has a way about it that just seems to make everything immensely satisfying. From the ability to glide across buildings to the hand signs that accompany every movement, it all just clicks. One of the main aspects of the gameplay in terms of combat is exposing the cause of the spectral entities you're fighting. It essentially works like a posture system. Do enough damage and the entities enter a vulnerable state. And when you do this, the rumble in the DualSense combined with Akito visibly straining on screen to pull out these cores really does add another level. And speaking of, the DualSense in general is utilised rather well. Raindrops abound in this game, trust me. But unfortunately, when it comes to the triggers, it does feel like they're put through a bit too much. When cleansing Tori gates in the game, it really does feel like there's too much resistance on the trigger. It starts to feel like it's breaking, but this might be specific to my controllers. I just feel like it's something to keep your eye on. Now, my final note before I get to the trophies, I really do want to mention how much I love the world that Tango Gameworks have made here. Everything about it adds to the tension and the sense of unease. Cars are strewn about throughout the streets, and very little sound outside of you and the various animals dotted about. You really do start to feel like you're in a place where everyone simply vanished. Couple this with the times that the main villain decides to preach his own personal brand of insanity, and you really do have an atmosphere worthy of the title, even if the rest of it doesn't quite get there. So now we come to the trophies, you know, the reason that we're all here. And unfortunately, it's kind of where everything starts to fall apart. The list for Ghostwire isn't the best by any metric, as you will soon find out. But there are definitely parts of it that are enjoyable and worthwhile, so let's start with those. As you would expect, there are story-based trophies for finishing each chapter, as well as the usual level and skill related trophies. You will need to unlock all the skills, and this does rely on one of the collectible types, which is unfortunate, but we'll get to that. There's also a bunch of miscellaneous ones for spending a boatload of money, for using photo mode for the first time, for petting your first animal, of many, I assure you, as well as a rather entertaining one for staring at the moon for 30 seconds. Yes, that is a trophy. Oh, and one of the trophies does appear to be a funny reference to those old piracy ads, if you remember those. You know, the "you wouldn't steal a blah blah blah." Basically, protect 3 of the containment cubes in one encounter, and you will unlock the "you wouldn't steal a spirit" trophy. Kind of enjoyed that bit. The majority of the remaining list can be divided between 2 camps, the combat and the collectibles, and I'm sure you can guess which one I preferred. For the combat trophies, you'll be required to complete some rather specific actions or combinations that all feel really satisfying to pull off, and therefore make these the most entertaining trophies by a country mile. Using each of the talismans to their full effect, or headshotting an enemy from over 40 meters away, adds that extra little bit of challenge that helps keep things interesting. By far the most satisfying trophy of the lot though is the One Fell Swoop trophy for destroying 5 enemy cores at the same time. Literally the most badass moment of my entire playthrough. On the opposite end of the scale though, we have the collectibles. So many collectibles. Honestly, of my 45 hours of playtime, I want to say at least half of it was spent running around the map looking for them. Between useful items like the statues or the Magatama, which are special upgrade materials, and the less than useful things like the voice notes, the music tracks, the outfits, there are roughly 520 items to collect. And that isn't even counting all of the spirits you'll need to collect for the not 1, but 2 trophies. Now I will admit, it didn't take too much grinding at the end of the game, and there are items that make it easier, but it still has to be one of the most tedious collectathons I have ever taken part in, and that's saying a lot. The devs could have easily halved the amount that they put in the game, and it would have made absolutely no difference, except I would have enjoyed the endgame that little bit more. Sure, they aren't useless, they provide money and experience, but the amounts that you get from these spirits just don't stack up when compared to everything else in the game. The relics give you way more money, and you get XP from basically everything you do. Seriously, if anyone from Tango Gameworks has accidentally stumbled upon this video, firstly, I love your games, I really do. Secondly, please cool it with this. It's just not necessary. The only trophy left that is worse than all of this is the lovely little RNG treasure that they snuck in. The aptly named, "Don't worry about it." I actually set aside some time one afternoon and said to myself, I am not stopping until I've unlocked this thing. I sat there reloading saves, shaking a little wooden box and hating myself for over an hour trying to get this one thing. And yet for some people, it might take a mere 30 seconds. Seriously, how are these trophies still a thing? So I think it's clear from the rest of the video that my opinions on Ghostwire Tokyo are mixed. On the one hand, it's a game that I found thoroughly enjoyable, with some seriously fun gameplay that really does make you feel like a badass sorcerer akin to a certain Marvel hero, while on the other hand, it is a rather disappointing platinum that sours the experience through an abundance of pointless collectibles that in 2022 really shouldn't be a thing anymore. Still, I am going to recommend this game, because while it is flawed and its story does bow under the weight of its open world, it's still fun to play, and provided you're thorough on your main playthrough with your exploration, the post-game grind really isn't bad enough to overshadow the good. And if you're not here for trophies, then yeah, play it, because it's a pretty fun game. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Sorry it's taken longer than I anticipated. Let me know in the comments down below if you're going for this platinum or if you have it. And also, let me know if there's any games that you'd like to see me tackle in this format. I'm always open to suggestions within reason. All that said, thank you so much for watching, and I shall catch you all next time.